The mystery of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. It began like any other flight, the kind millions of people take each year. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 prepared for takeoff at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The Boeing 777 was a trusted workhorse of international skies, with a strong safety record and a reputation for reliability. On board were 239 people, passengers from 15 different countries, along with a crew led by Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a veteran with more than 18,000 flight hours. The destination was straightforward: Beijing, China. The flight was scheduled to take roughly 6 hours. Families waved goodbye in Kuala Lumpur. Loved ones awaited arrivals in Beijing, and in between stretched a well-traveled route across the South China Sea. Nothing seemed unusual. At 12:41 a.m., Flight MH370 lifted off into the night sky. Air traffic controllers tracked its steady ascent. By 1:19 a.m., the plane crossed the South China Sea and checked in with Malaysian controllers for the last time. The co-pilot's calm voice relayed the final known words: "Good night, Malaysian 370." Minutes later, the plane's transponder, the electronic device that broadcasts its location, stopped transmitting. On air traffic control screens, MH370 simply disappeared. Attempts to contact the crew failed. There was no distress call, no emergency signal, nothing to suggest what was happening inside the cockpit. At first, controllers assumed a technical glitch. Planes occasionally drop off radar temporarily. But as minutes stretched into hours, the silence deepened. Families waiting in Beijing began to notice delays on arrival boards. Airlines issued vague statements. Behind the scenes, officials scrambled. Search teams were dispatched over the South China Sea, the expected flight path. Dozens of ships and planes joined in, scanning the waters for signs of wreckage. But nothing appeared. The sea remained undisturbed, as though the plane had been erased from the sky. What happened next only deepened the mystery. Military radar, which operates independently of civilian systems, later revealed MH370 had not vanished immediately. Instead, it had turned sharply west, back across the Malaysian peninsula. It then flew along the Strait of Malacca, continuing for nearly an hour after civilian trackers lost contact. Even stranger, satellite data indicated the plane continued flying for another 6 to 7 hours, heading either north towards Central Asia or south into the vast Indian Ocean. By the time the final signal was detected, MH370 could have been thousands of miles from its intended route. The disappearance gripped the world. News outlets broke the story within hours, and soon it dominated headlines globally. Families of the missing gathered in Kuala Lumpur and Beijing, desperate for answers. International teams rushed to join the search, making it one of the most extensive in aviation history. Day after day, search planes scanned endless stretches of ocean. Ships dragged sonar equipment across the seabed, listening for faint pings that might come from the plane's black boxes. But time was against them. After 30 days, the batteries powering those locator beacons would expire, leaving only silence. Speculation spread like wildfire. Was it a catastrophic mechanical failure? A hijacking? A deliberate act? With no debris and no communication, every theory seemed possible. Governments released carefully worded updates, but the truth remained elusive. Weeks became months. By April 2014, despite the largest multinational search effort in aviation history, no wreckage was found. Families clung to hope, some believing passengers might still be alive, held somewhere unknown. Others faced the crushing reality that their loved ones were gone, with no explanation. The sea, vast and unyielding, kept its secret. Fragments of truth, oceans of mystery. Years passed, but the mystery of MH370 refused to fade. In 2015, a breakthrough finally arrived. A fragment of aircraft debris washed ashore on Réunion Island, east of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean. The wing component, known as a flaperon, was confirmed to belong to MH370. For the first time, physical evidence proved the plane had ended in the southern Indian Ocean. Over the next few years, more pieces were discovered along coastlines in Africa and islands scattered across the Indian Ocean. Each fragment brought heartbreak and frustration. They proved the plane had crashed, but not why or where the main wreckage lay. The official investigation, led by Malaysia with help from international partners, concluded in 2018. The report confirmed that MH370 changed course intentionally, not by accident. The aircraft's communication systems were manually switched off, suggesting human intervention. Yet investigators could not determine the motive or identity of who was responsible. Theories swirled. Some believed the captain deliberately diverted the plane. Others argued for hijacking or sudden crew incapacitation. Mechanical failure remained a possibility, though increasingly unlikely given the deliberate flight path. The lack of a final explanation kept the case alive in the public imagination. Search efforts were massive. Between 2014 and 2018, more than 120,000 square kilometers of the Indian Ocean seabed were scanned, in an area larger than many countries. Advanced sonar, underwater drones, and ships crisscrossed remote waters. Yet the main wreckage and the black boxes remained hidden. In 2018, the search was officially suspended. For the families, it felt like a second loss. Not only were their loved ones gone, but so was the hope of definitive answers. Many gathered at vigils, holding photos, lighting candles, and demanding governments never give up. Even today, private companies and researchers continue to push for renewed searches. Advances in technology, they argue, make it possible to scan deeper, faster, and more accurately than before. There is still hope that one day the wreckage will be found, and with it, the answers long denied. The legacy of MH370 is profound. It reshaped aviation safety. Airlines strengthened cockpit security, improved communication tracking, and introduced new standards for locating planes in real time. The mystery also highlighted the need for global cooperation in air safety and search operations. But beyond policy changes and technical lessons, the human story endures. For the families, each day without answers is another day of grief suspended in time. For the world, MH370 remains a reminder of how fragile certainty can be, even in an age of satellites and advanced technology. As the years stretch on, the case of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remains unresolved, a puzzle with missing pieces scattered across the ocean. For some, that uncertainty is unbearable. For others, it is a call to keep searching, to never let go until closure is found. And so the mystery lives on, carried by waves across the Indian Ocean, whispered in memorials, and remembered in headlines each passing anniversary. The plane that vanished without a trace has become more than a tragedy. It is a symbol of unanswered questions, of resilience, and of humanity's unending need for truth.